On this episode of Amor Al Migrante, we are celebrating moms everywhere. Just ahead of Mother's Day, we invite members of our team to share how immigrant mothers have inspired the work they do at Estrella del Paso to support migrants today.
At that point, I became a DACA recipient. So I was a DACA recipient for about 10 to 11 years. And then just recently adjusted. So I'm now an LPR, which is a lawful.
Making sure that on Mother's Day there's a special tribute to immigrant moms who took this journey, who made these sacrifices, who have continued even after arriving, have had to continue making so many sacrifices for the sake of their children, for the sake of their family.
And I think that's something that moms put in you, to be fearless, to be powerful, nothing can scare you enough. And if it's because of if it's something better for your family or for your kids, I'm going to do it regardless of what's going to happen.
My mom was a single mom. She made the most out of what she had with limited resources. And now that I'm older and in a position to give that back to people.
Plus, we'll tell you how you can be part of our MADRES, MARIACHIS y MARGARITAS brunch on Saturday, May 10. Welcome everyone to another episode of Amor Al Migrante podcast. Today we're joined by two amazing persons that work at the Refugee Services program, which is Bella and Angelica. They're joining us today and we're hosting this a special episode for Mother's Day. So welcome ladies to our podcast today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. So I guess we can go ahead and first get introduced by the two of you guys. So if you guys want to tell us a little bit about yourself, we can start with Angelica and then we can move to Bella, and tell us about a little bit about yourself. What is it that you do? What is it that you like? And how you got into working for immigration. So we can get started.
Yeah, it's not a loaded question at all.
Right? 10 questions in one.
But yeah, I'm Angelica. I previously undocumented. I arrived in the States back in 1997 with my mom and sister, and we joined my dad in Utah. So I was raised in Utah. I consider myself a Utahn. Lived there from age 5, almost 6, up until I got married. At that point, I became a DACA recipient. So I was a DACA recipient for about 10 to 11 years. And then just recently adjusted. So I'm now an LPR, which is a lawful permanent resident.
Congratulations.
Right. Nice.
I know. It was a long process, but now it's been about a year. But yeah, growing up in Utah, the population, the Latino population, it was there. It was not as visible as it is here in Texas.
I bet.
But yeah, growing up, the issue of being undocumented it was known, but it was not talked about. So just kind of knew my limitations.
Right.
I became active in the immigrant community when I was in college, so I still didn't have DACA. Kind of started testing the boundaries, and then once I gained DACA, it was okay, I'm going to use my voice.
Nice.
Good. So that was really my introduction to the immigrant advocacy community, and then from there, I worked on different issues, LGBTQIA, pushing for anti-discrimination bills in Utah. I worked on different campaigns, state and federal campaigns, before moving to Austin, Texas, where I worked with the unhoused population and then affordable housing. So I did that for a good 7 years before moving to El Paso and now being back working with the immigrant community.
Nice.
Full service background, completely service-related work. It's amazing.
That is a great CV.
Taking notes on okay. Nice. I wonder how hard was it to be at, you said, Utah, because it's not known to be a super, I guess, cultural mixed state. Is mostly, I could say, white community.
It is predominantly white, and it's actually really interesting because I feel like I really lucked out with the community that I grew up in. So for high school, I went to West High, and that's one of the most diverse high schools in Utah. Nice. And I got to interact with a lot of different communities, Polynesians, different Asian communities, different Latinos, Hispanics. Nice. And of course, Caucasians. So it was very broad spectrum of students that I got to interact with. But yeah, if you go outside of Salt Lake County, then the diversity
it's not the
dwindles
best.
down a little bit.
Right, no, I bet. Nice. I guess we continue with you, Bella.
Hi, I'm Bella. Happy to be here. So I do work in refugee services. how I got here is an interesting conversation. So my mother was previously undocumented. She had to go through the process of naturalizing, and one of the only reasons she did it was because she had a dream that she had gotten deported.
Oh my gosh, a nightmare, more like it.
More like a nightmare. And she just didn't want to have to deal with that worry in the back of her mind, so she had naturalized. Fast forward, she meets my dad, who was actually in the military.
Okay.
So they had gotten married, they had me. and it's an interesting perspective, because from one side I have, like the American dream, like father with his background. I did have that privilege of being an American per se.
Right.
But my mom is someone who was born in Mexico, raised in Mexico. And so I get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And I did grow up impoverished.
Enjoying this podcast? For almost 40 years, Estrella del Paso has supported over 500 clients from 80 different countries thanks to people like you. And your support keeps this work going. During these critical times, help us continue by donating at estrelladelpaso.org. And that's it. Back to the podcast.
My mom was a single mom. She made the most out of what she had with limited resources. And now that I'm older and in a position to give that back to people who are where I was at one point, that's what it is for me. Working with the people we work with, it's refugees, it's asylees, it's people who are looking for a better life because they can't stay in their home.
And often starting from nothing, right? From literal absolutely nothing.
Starting from ground zero.
Yeah.
We had limited resources and my mom made it work.
Yeah.
And look at you now.
Look at me now. Now I can pay it forward.
Right. It's crazy. And if you're not encouraged by these two stories, and it's just
I know, we just started. We're like 3 minutes in, guys.
Okay, we can go ahead and cut it off already. No, I'm just kidding. But if you don't get encouraged by the two stories of you all, I don't know what else we need to get encouraged to support not only the community but everyone else, because if like your mom, right, if she worked hard enough, she did everything she could, and look at you, like Bella now paying it forward, right? So it's like she planted that seed, and then now that seed is giving fruits to help other community members.
Seriously, generations to come. That is an understatement.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's something that you can pass, because you have already that built into you. So for future generations and come, probably you're gonna go ahead and teach the same thing, help others, be there for others. And you could be at a point where you have everything, but you could be also at a point where you have nothing. And at that point, you're gonna need the help of those who you might be helping in the near future, So it's just like a full circle effect.
That's exactly what Refugee Services is for. We're not here to make your decisions for you, how to tell you how to live your life. We're just here to be your mentor, to be your guide, to help you navigate systems and find resources.
Absolutely.
To help you be successful so you too can pay it forward.
And the Refugee Services Unit is fairly new, is fairly revamped here at Estrella del Paso. It existed before, but we all know politically what's going on with refugees and refugee services historically and presently. So there are a lot of people who were really excited to see this program restarted, because I think that Refugee Services offers the ideal model of how to welcome immigrants, right? Absolutely. It's like, let's get everything in order before you arrive. Let's offer you support when you get here. Because I think some of the things that people don't know and can't imagine when immigrants arrive is really simple things that you guys help with. How to grocery shop, how to enroll your kids in school, how to take a bus, how to get IDs, how to get these really, really basic things, right? That it's a system that people are not going to be familiar with, because even for us, and we'll get into this because Christian and I talked a little bit about this, even for us to learn how to navigate these systems is really complicated, and it can be really confusing.
Absolutely.
And so to have an entire unit who's dedicated to people who are dedicated to helping you figure that out, that would feel like a godsend, right? For someone who's really lost and confused. So also to keep in mind, though, this is our plug for this too, because this unit is really important, but with the cuts that we've seen in funding, that impacted y'all's program as well, right? So there were people that you were expecting to arrive that didn't happen.
Didn't happen. Yeah. Once we got notice of the program losing its funding, we were notified that the families that we had already scheduled, like their flights were scheduled, we had their itinerary of when they were set to arrive at the different airports for their layovers. Like we just got a notice that all flights are being canceled indefinitely, not even rescheduled. It was just full on stop.
Man, imagine that, like putting back into that story of both of you, right? Like you're set to start a new life with more opportunities because it's not enough what you have where you live, right? So you already have your plane tickets. You already know the people who's gonna be there helping you out.
Yeah.
And then like from one day to another, everything is canceled. Like I can imagine the feeling of like, oh man, like now I have to get another plan and see what's gonna happen. Yeah, what's gonna happen to me next, right? And that's something that, man, we need to tell people to, once again, I guess like be aware that we have everything in the US. We have access to a lot of resources, but that doesn't mean that everyone else in the rest of the world has the same access, right? I can remember, like, for example, when I was a kid, right? Or actually, I don't know when I was a kid, when I was already a teenager, when I was working here in the US, my mom and my dad were Mexican citizens, right? They were born in Mexico. So they had to go wait for me until I was 21 so I can help them get the LPR, right? And like people think like, oh yeah, I would just get the LPR, just get your status. I don't know if they know how expensive it is for people that earns their money in pesos or live in another country.
And time consuming.
Exactly. And if you go like, for example, like you said, Sandra, like people like having like refugee services to help the documentation or the process for everything, it's just like, oh, you know, like something like amazing. But like for most of the people that live in Mexico, they don't know we have those services. They don't know that help exists, and they try to fill out their documentation with the knowledge they have, and sometimes they make mistakes, and sometimes they're scared because what if I missed information? What if I put it wrong? What if they send it back? It's gonna delay the whole process. I'm gonna have to pay it back again. So I don't think a lot of people understands that it's not only like, yeah, let me go to the border and I want to fix my LPR, I want to cross, thank you, bye. No, it's like a whole process, a lot of money, and it's just crazy. And I'm going on a tangent away from Mother's Day, but I just wanted to point that out there.
This is why we love these conversations, because we go on a lot of tangents, right, guys?
Yes. It's like a freeway.
But we are focusing on the Mother's Day topic ahead of our Mother's Day event. We'll have more information about it at the end of our episode of how you can be a part of that, how you can contribute to that. But we really, as Christian and I were talking about Mother's Day and what's so special about it in the immigrant community, especially, right? Because there's so many conversations. Every Mother's Day, see so many memes and reels and graphics about like making sure that on Mother's Day there's a special tribute to immigrant moms who took this journey, who made these sacrifices, who have continued even after arriving, have had to continue making so many sacrifices for the sake of their children, for the sake of their family. And so we like to have those conversations because we want to acknowledge that, right? And I think it's important for people to share that experience. I think there's a lot of power in stories and sharing kind of what those different experiences are for people. So that's kind of why we wanted to do this. And also because I think that it could impact the way you're paying it forward, right? Like it impacts the way that we face this work now. And I think that, I don't know that there's a way around around denying that. I think that just comes natural. But part of our conversation was also about just like celebrating moms, right? Because at the end of the day, like immigrant moms, they're moms.
Right.
They're moms.
Yeah.
You know, like the relationship you have with your mom, that's the same relationship every immigrant mom has. Like a child, daughter, whatever it is, son, daughter, it's the same relationship. So we really kind of want to focus on that, and we'll get into all of that more, I promise. So keep blah, blah. But talk a little bit about some of the experiences that you guys have had with mothers in the work that you've done, and kind of how that has worked out for y'all.
I can definitely answer to this.
Yay, nice.
So moms, they're great. They make sacrifices for us. And as Sandra mentioned, it doesn't matter what your immigration status is. If you're a mother, you're a mother.
Yeah.
Right.
So biologically or symbolically, if you are a mother figure in someone's life, thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
But that mother figure one is important. That was a good keyword there.
Exactly.
Sorry.
So, like I said, mothers make sacrifices, but the immigrant mothers, even more. Sometimes it's a single mom with 2 kids. She needs to put food on the table. She needs to get them to school, but she also needs to go to work and be able to pick up her kids from school, to drop them off at school. One of the moms that we've worked with, she's a single mother with a child.
Okay.
And she actually made a friendship, if you want to say, with one of our other clients who is also a mother. Both of them are in the same boat, going through the same struggles, having to find a living wage. So what they did is help each other out. One of them will take the kids to school while the other one goes to work. When they switch their schedules, the other one will pick them up while another one is at work. So they definitely rely on community. It's not a single effort, but they make it work.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's
amazing.
really cool. I just like the power of community, and when people are like, it takes a village, you never know where that village is going to come from, right? Like that can look different.
Yeah, and sometimes it's the neighbors. Sometimes it's your neighbor. Don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it.
It's like finding another family member that doesn't have like the same blood or like the same last name. It's just a family member that you didn't met before.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
I remember my neighbor taking care of me when I was a little kid.
Oh, you really?
Yeah. My mom didn't. So I'm kind of a similar situation. My dad is an immigrant, but my mom is from El Paso. So it's like 4th generation El Paso by the time it gets to me. But there was a really different experience, right? Like when you have parents. My mom is like, she's Mexican American, but she's really American. Like she was like, my dad was very traditional, and he was like, we have kids. I have 3 other siblings, so there were 4 of us, and so my dad was like, you should stay home and you should take care of the kids and blah blah. And it's fine. I'm the youngest, so by the time she got to me, she's like, yeah, I think I've stayed home long enough. I'm good. I'm gonna go get a job. And my dad's like, who's gonna take care of the kids? Who's gonna pick them up from school? And so she worked a job where she would go in really early, so she would drop me off and I love this woman. She was the cafeteria manager at my elementary school. So she would let my mom drop us off at like 6 a.m. to just hang out in the school cafeteria while they made breakfast. And then our neighbor, and I was in kindergarten, and they still did half day at the time. So then our neighbor would pick me up at noon, and then I'd stay at her house, and then my mom would come home at like 3 in the afternoon, and she'd pick me up, and then we'd go home. And it was just like, it's really, and I just thought like, that always just seemed super normal to me. But when you think about it now,
I mean, it's pretty normalized now, but like, I think now having a kid, and when we lived in Austin, my mom was a blessing. She helped us with our kid for the first 3 years, and then she decided to move back. And good for her. Like, she needs to live her life. Right. But it's like, we had no community aside from a couple of friends, but once we started enrolling our kid in pre-K, we're like, this schedule doesn't work for us. Like, I work 8 to 5. My spouse works Eastern time, but he still doesn't end until like 4:30. So we asked the principal, like, what do you do in these situations? Yeah. And their response was just like, well, you make friends with the other parents and you just ask them. And I was like, I don't know.
You might hear a stranger.
Okay, but how?
Yeah, like that was the full response. I was like, okay, we need to have a game plan. Like, we need to start making friends. We need to start figuring out the schedule. But it's like, I think what Refugee Services is here for is helping you find that community and make it less stressful, less frightening, just making the transition as smooth as possible. Because like throwing it, like even knowing the systems, just being told that, I'm like, how do I do that? Like, and also to trust someone like that quickly.
But it's also an interesting perspective from the child. To them, like you said, it's normalized. They love their parents. They're just happy to be with them. Yeah. There's a song by Dolly Parton called Coat of Many Colors. I love Dolly Parton. She's queen. Anyway, so there's this song called Coat of Many Colors where she's talking about how her mom had made her a coat out of a bunch of random rags that they had just gotten from someone. But, to Dolly, it was the best thing ever, and she felt rich because of her mom's love and her mom's presence. Yeah. But they didn't really have the money. And like, it reminds me of my upbringing, and it reminds me of the clients we work with because they are so happy. They are so hopeful.
With little.
And
Yeah.
with so little.
Yeah.
And even though they're not where they want to be, they know that they're working towards that.
Yeah.
And that gives a lot of peace of mind.
Oh.
I bet. You know, it's crazy because I remember like the first toy. I was told that was the first toy that I had, right? Because I don't remember, of course. But as soon as I was born, my grandma made me like a scarf, a colorful scarf. And I still have it. And so I didn't have it. My mom had it, and then one time I don't know what she was cleaning, and then I went to visit her, and then she had it in there. I was like, oh, so I'm gonna take it back. But it's crazy how many like those little things like bring you back to a memory that you had, and like make you feel that connection again. Because I still have my grandparents from my dad's side, and then I don't have the ones from my mom's side, right? But like I don't visit them as often as I would like to. Of course, it's my mistake, right? I don't make time or anything. But like seeing those little memories is like, man, like brings back those memories that like they did so much for us when we were growing up. And like at some point I feel like I should be doing more for them because they did everything for me. And I remember when I was a little kid, like the same thing, like my mom worked and my dad worked too. So I had to be enrolled at a school that it was close to my grandparents' house. So it was like I would like 30-40 minutes drive from my home to my grandparents' house. So they would drop me off every morning, and I remember like my grandparent waiting for me outside of the school, and they picking me up and then dropping them off, and then getting to my grandma's house and then having the food ready. So I was like, I have those memories like.
My mom always had like sopita, and like to this day, I'm like, I don't need a meal. I just need a bowl of sopita. I'm good.
Man, it's crazy. Like even the smells when I visit my grandparents, like the smells of their house is like, man, I'm like 6 again. I'm like waiting for them to serve me a plate. Like, it's just crazy and amazing how those connections are like last like forever.
I'm glad you brought up grandmas because you talked about mother figures, and I think especially in our culture, grandmas play such a huge role for a lot of kids. I know that my sister has 3 boys, and when my sister, when she became a single mom, she went to live with my mom, and my mom helped her like with everything, right? Like pick up, drop off meals. And then that's when my sister started working on her degree. So she had evening classes and weekend classes. And so it was just like a whole thing there. And so my mom passed away like 8 years ago, but for her kids, that was like a parental loss. Like they lost, like for them, it was like a parent, right? Like, so I think it's really important that we acknowledge that grandmas play such a huge role for kiddos.
Again, if you're a mom, you're always going to be a mom. And grandmas are great.
Like the supervisors of a mom, right? Like for me, it was my Wikipedia. Like every time I would get sick or like something happened, she knew the answer. She knew what to take. She knew what to give me. Going back to when I was little, like I would get after school, and I remember like I learned like how to multiply, subtract, divide, read, and everything because of my grandma. Like she would sit with me and teach me, and it was like just like, man, like insane because she had this way of teaching. Like it was like hard but soft at the same time. So like it would stick to me.
It's the most relatable thing I've ever heard.
Like it's hard, like no, but like super soft, like mijo. And it was just like that amazing experience. And I think like I wish like when I have kids, like they go through the same experiences that I have because of my grandma. Like she made it possible.
There was an interesting moment. I was out with a client, a mother and her son. We were going to learn how to ride the bus. Don't remember where we were going. And, you know, this mother, she doesn't speak English. With her little boy, she's having him practice his colors. Like she's like, oh, ¿cómo dice gris en inglés? Like, and you know, they were going back and forth about it. So, you know, mothers really do play that role of an educator.
Absolutely.
They don't even know what what they're teaching themselves.
Exactly. I think it's like the most underrated and underpaid job in the world, like being a mom, because it's like 24/7. You clock out from your office work to clock into the mom job, and it's like okay, like you go on vacation, like even if you go on vacations, you're still on the clock. You're still on the clock. Exactly, because you're like, oh, you need to pack, you need to make sure you don't miss anything, and like I can like in the men and the guys perspective, we're like blessed and like I guess like comfortable at some point because we know that if we missed something, like spouses,
Yeah.
moms
They're gonna
are
catch
in
it.
the back. Exactly. Do you bring this? No. Okay, I brought it. Do you have this? No. Okay, I have it. I'm like, oh, it's like this, like the same and all, like of everything, you know. So like give credit to moms because, like I said, it's the most underpaid job that has ever been created in life.
Angelica, you're a mom, right? You have a little girl. How would you say that your role as a mom has influenced the work that you do?
Oh goodness. Well, I think kind of backtracking it to my own mom, like her experiences have influenced how I approach the work. And then from there, like now having my own kid, I want to continue instilling those values into her so that she at some point can pay it forward, knowing that her grandma and her mom, like their experiences were affected by different policies, different environments, and these are the steps that they took to try to make it better, not just for themselves, but for everyone in their surrounding.
That's amazing. Good. I think you're doing a great job. We saw when we had the march. Did you see her daughter was there with her?
Oh my gosh. Angelica took her daughter to go be a civil rights advocate. This is mom power to the max.
Yeah.
Let me show you.
Let me not tell you. Let me show you. Right. Like, that's like the perfect example. How would you say, Bella, that your work has been influenced by like your mom and growing up? You talked about it a little bit and wanting to pay that forward.
Yeah, and it's something that's in the back of my mind every time I find myself questioning, is this really for me? Should I be here? Should I be doing this work? Yeah. I always think back to my mom. Oh my gosh, there was 4 of us. It was 4 kids and a single mother.
That's a lot of work.
And like all different ages. And when you get to that point where you have one in middle school, one in high school, one in elementary, how do you make it work? Yeah. And it was a lot of reliance on community and a lot of reliance on resources. And she just, I don't know what she did 8 to 5 when we were at school, but she did something to keep the roof over our heads and food ready for us when we got home. Just the sopita, the little things, the frijoles, just the rice.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
I think there's a lot to be said about how resourceful moms are.
That's the word. Resourceful and resilient.
Yes, and my mom, there's a book about it now, and I haven't read it, but my sister has. But my mom used to say it all the time, and she's like that. She would say, "No me voy a ahogar en un vaso de agua." Like, right, I'm not going to drown in a glass of water. And so she would say that to me, like when I would be like, "Oh, I'm stuck in something," she'd be like, "Girl,
you know what I went through."
They're really good at bringing you back.
Oh, for sure. So your problem's like this, tiny girl. Like, get it together. Like, let's figure it out, right?
Exactly. And then again, when I'm struggling with something, I have to remind myself, no, if my grandma could do it with no education, then I can do it with an education. Yeah. If my mom had to do it with limited resources, limited money, and limited support, I can do it with the support I do have.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Bringing it back to refugee services, like we're helping those people where I was. And we're going to teach you how to find the resources. We're not just going to tell you, oh, go apply for food stamps. Oh, go apply for WIC. Like, that's a complicated
please go
process.
do those things. Yeah, but let us help you.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because here we have those benefits, WIC, food stamps and stuff. But if, like, I remember in Juarez growing up, like, we don't have, like a food bank, per se. We don't have, like, those resources. And I remember, and I feel ungrateful now, sorry, Mom. if you ever watch this, sorry. Because I remember, like, she will tell me, like, hey, go to, like, the little tiendita on the corner and get, like, 2 papas and, like, 10 pesos de carne. And, it, like, that would feed, like, 5 of us or 4 of us at some point. So it's like, man, like, and I feel ungrateful because, like, I was like, we're eating this again, like tacos otra vez, like otra vez carne, like, you know, like, and like now that you mentioned that, it's like, man, she did what she could with what she had, right? And we weren't like exactly like I guess like rich or like middle class, but we're like low class, right? We were like kind of in between middle class and a lower class. But of course, like, it was like 2 rooms for like 5 of us in a small house. I think like if I were to relive my childhood, I would relive it like exactly as I did because I enjoy it so much. But now that I think about it, it's like I remember opening the fridge and like some point it was just like chiles curtidos and a bottle of water.
Always the chiles curtidos. You can count on that no matter what. A little plastic tub in the back of the fridge. Every time.
You had no papas, no meat or anything, but chiles curtidos was in the menu, right?
But you had food to eat.
Exactly.
I hate to cook. I don't enjoy it. It's not fun for me. Some people think it's like they want to learn recipes. It's relaxing. None of the above. Like I do it because I have to stay alive.
It's a necessity.
It's just like not fun. But I do remember that about my mom. Like I'd be like, we don't have anything to eat, and she could somehow make a meal out of whatever was there. And I'm like, how do you do that? And my sister is a really good cook. Like my sister inherited like that trait, so she loves to cook. She's really good at it, and she does the same thing. Like always sitting there, like I'm so hungry. There's nothing to eat. And she's like, I can make you, and she'll name like 4 things. How are you gonna make that?
Where? Yeah.
So yeah, it's super impressive. I think moms have that magic like quality to make it happen.
On the spot, it was just impressive. Yeah, it's like, you know what? Like that's the name of the owner of the tiendita. It's like Ve con Juana. That's the name of her. And get like this and this. Like, wait, and then we'll come back. Like 10 minutes later, I was like, oh,
Delicious.
Yes, exactly. And it's just crazy. And like in my family, I could tell like my mom was like the, like people said that the men's are the head of the family, but the I guess women's are like the neck of the family because like they turn you and move you exactly
And hold it up.
Like, hold it up exactly. And it was exactly like that. Like my dad would work the whole day like from 8 to 8, and then my mom would work like from 8 to 3, 8 to 2. So before she went on to work, and it was like summertime, right? So of course we had no school. I remember like she would wake up like super early to make up food, to leave it ready, like just warm it up, like leave instructions. And I'm the oldest, right? So she would like leave me with instructions, like make sure you don't fight, you don't open it to anyone. And I remember like every so often she would call like, how's everyone? Good. Okay. I'm like, how's everyone? Good.
Yeah.
Like 20 minutes ago.
Everybody's still okay.
It was like that for us too. When my mom would when she did find work and she'd had to go to work or do whatever she had to do.
Right.
I was the oldest, and she'd leave me in charge and be like, "There's food in the fridge. Leave the door locked. Don't answer the door." Which is also like a side note. A lot of people look down on that, but you have to do what you have to do to make it work.
I would get home and nobody was home. Like, yeah.
You don't have a choice. Like, these mothers don't willingly leave their kids alone.
Yeah.
It's like they have no one to help them.
Absolutely.
But anyway, yeah.
And I had the chorus of being the oldest, so I had to stay on top of my brothers, right? But I remember my mom calling, and now that I think about it, I never remember my dad calling like throughout the day, like to see how we were doing. But like, man,
moms are warriors a little bit more by nature, I feel.
and I can imagine like everything they have in the back of their head, like I can bet Angelica has like 3 things thinking like
right now.
What is she doing? What am I gonna do like for food today? I have to pay the bills tomorrow. I need to remind my husband of doing this. Like 3 or 4 things. Is like their mind is like just like a constant like machine working like non-stopping. It was just like
and the energy levels too, by the way, because like I will have no energy and I'm like, I'm done. And my sister, her kids are older now, so they can kind of do a lot for themselves. But then when they were younger, she would work all day, she would do all these things, and she'd come home and she'd be like, I have to clean, I have to do laundry, I have to like bathe them, I have to, girl, I'm exhausted, and it's like 6 p.m. You're about to start a whole shift.
You're like, where's the monster? Are you drinking something?
I don't know where moms get the energy from.
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out where I'm getting all this energy from. And even then, I cannot match my kids' energy.
Man, that's
I can't keep up. I do remember when we're going back to moms being super resourceful. I do remember. So my mom, which she met my dad when she was like a teenager, and so they got married. So she never worked, and so they started having kids, and so they had us. So she didn't have like work experience, right? So, but when she started meeting my dad's family, like they taught her how to cook. So when she would go to Mexico to visit my dad's family, they taught her how to cook. So she became really good at it, and so that's what she would do. She would make like plates, and she would sell them at the elementary school, and all the teachers were like obsessed, right? And then one of our neighbors taught her how to make tamales, and I remember we had a sleepover sleepover at the neighbor's house one time because they just stayed up all night, like making tamales. And so then she's like, okay, cool, this is going to be my side hustle now, right? So then she would sell, like during Christmas time, she would sell like tamales. And it was all of these things that you're like, okay. And then eventually when it became time for her to get a job, she started working in like housekeeping at hotels because I know how to make a bed and wash a bathroom and clean, you know what I mean? So it's using these things that you know how to do to be like, this is how I'm going to monetize and make money and keep my family like going. You know what I mean? Like it's insane.
Yeah,
like it just, they seem to do it so naturally that now as an adult, I'm like, there was nothing natural about that. Like, because adulting is so hard.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's crazy how like they make you feel powerful when you're next to them, because like, of course they have fears and they get scared and everything, but like when it comes to show you something or to do something, they have no fear. Like they're like a go-getter. I remember when I was a little kid too, we went to this vacation, right? And it was a water slide. And my mom is just like not a water person. She doesn't like pool. She doesn't like beach or anything, right? But she got into the water slide because I wanted to go into the water slide. And, you know, like me, I was like 4 or 5 and I was like, I want to go to the water. So she took me. And I remember she's like, no, it's okay, mijo. Like nothing's going to happen. And like, I remember like we went through the water slide. And when she got up, she was like, all scared, right? But like at the time, exactly. But at the time, like we were going through it, no, it's okay. And I bet like through her head, I was like, oh my gosh, why? Why am I here? Why am I doing this, right? And like we grew up and everything, and we moved to, once my parents were able to get that LPR, they came to the U.S., and my dad, he kept working in Juarez for like 2-3 months while he got a job here, right? But my mom, it was like, as soon as like the next day she got her LPR or her social, she applied at Food King, and then she got hired at Food King within a week. And I was like, man, like it's a new country, a new language. It's a new line of work, because she had work in retail and doing some other stuff, but never like a grocery like place, right? And I was like, new country, new language, new line of work, all these new stuff. And then she was like, okay, yeah, I start tomorrow. I'm like, what? Yeah. And I was like, what are you going to do? Like, just work? What, like, what
figure it out is what I'm going to do. I'm going to show up and I'm going to figure it out.
Exactly. And I was so impressed. Like, man, this woman is not like scared of anything. Like, and I think I still have the same mentality because of her. Like, if they can do it, I can do it.
Right.
If they did it, I can for sure do it. And I think that's something that moms like put in you, like to be fearless, to be like powerful, like nothing can scare you enough. And if it's because of if it's something better for your family or for your kids, I'm going to do it regardless of what's going to happen.
Exactly.
And I remember like her coming home sometimes like crying because a client was mean or stuff like that. And I was like, oh, get pissed, right? But like the next day, I'm outside of waiting for people. And like the next day she'll be like nothing, go to work, and like nothing will stop her. And I was like,
moms really are magic. And I think a lot of their energy and their strength and resilience just comes from the fact that it has to be done. So they're not even going to think about it. If it has to be done, that's the end of the story. It will get done.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of like, you know, if you're at a pool party with your friends and you're going to jump in the pool and everyone's like, no, I'm scared. Yeah. And then there's that one kid that's like, whoop, right into the pool without not a single thought behind those eyes.
They're like, yeah, that's my mom.
Yes, like she will get it done.
I don't think there's nobody that will ever believe in you more than your mom, right? Like, because moms feel like you can do like everything, right? But I think it works, and even depending on what the experience was, like for me, like my mom, I became really independent because my mom was, right? And so my dad, who's Mexican, like all of his brothers have Mexican wives as well, right? And so they never worked, so they always stayed home, and that was just like their tradition. And I think my dad had really similar expectations for my mom. So when she was like, yeah, that's not for me, that was like it took some adjusting for him, right?
Man.
But she was like, And she could have like handled it poorly, right? She could have been like, I don't care what you say.
Yes, exactly.
But she did it, and they always got along really well. I mean, they separated later in life, but life happens. But she, I think it was really, the way she handled it was really well. Like, this is just like really important to me. This is really important to who I am, and I want to contribute to this family in more ways that I am. And so I think for me, I'm just like, and I have always worked, right? Like, since I was like a teenager, like I was in high school and I started working, I've always worked, and I feel like I get that really strong sense of independence. I love living by myself. I love, you know what I mean? Like just having this space by myself. And like unpopular opinion, well, maybe it's getting more popular, but I'm not a mom. I don't have kids. I don't have a desire to. And so some people are like, that's really selfish. That's a lot of work. And it's okay, admittedly, I don't know that I have the energy to do that kind of work. Going back to the energy. Let's be honest. But also, there's a lot of conversations I've had internally about it, of like, am I like capable of doing these things, like of raising a good human, of making sure that they have all of these things that are like responsible for them. And I don't know that my mom ever thought that, right? Like she ever thought like, how am I gonna raise kids? Like she just had kids, right? Yeah. And to have done like such an amazing, I personally think she did great. She did great with that.
I agree. I can vouch for that.
But I'm really proud of myself and my siblings, and I feel like that. Obviously, we're influenced by like both parents, but I think that was like a big part of it, right? Is like that mom influence, and so we still talk about my mom all the time. So we celebrate her birthday and the anniversary of her passing every year. She was like, she loved to dance, so we still always do that. But because it's such a big impact, right? That you think about all of these things of where you are now, that there's no way to acknowledge all the things that you're doing now, everything that's happening in your life now, without acknowledging the things that your mom did, that she did for us to get there. And I think that that's like a universal mom feeling.
Absolutely. And I feel like you brought up a really good point where once she realized like just staying at home isn't for me, like she was trying to find herself and like what her aspirations were. And at some point, whether you're an immigrant mom or just a mom, like you do sacrifice a lot, especially immigrant moms, like, and you focus so much on your family and their well-being, especially your children, that they're in a way like everything they do becomes you. So it's acknowledging like it's okay for you to find yourself, like you need that break. You've done so much, like it's okay to step back for a minute, like you're helping them be independent. Like, let's help you also do things for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's really cool.
And I think this is the perfect time to remind everyone to give a break to your mom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And the fact that, like I said, they work 24/7, 360 days a year, it's always good to at least tell her that you acknowledge everything she did for you, everything she has done for you, because I can vouch for every mom that they did everything they could to as much as they could do, and with the knowledge they had and the resources they had in hand. So thank your mom.
Yeah.
And buy her a marg and some brunch. Because we are having our Madres Mariachis y Margaritas brunch. Moms love all of those things. Do moms love all of those things? Okay. Our in-house expert, we had to confirm.
Yes.
So it's happening Saturday, May 10th, which is Mexican Mother's Day. So and then American Mother's Day is the next day. So you can dual celebration.
Imagine. Right.
So it's going to be at the Marriott El Paso, the one on Airway, in their grand ballroom, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., a buffet brunch, chilaquiles, pozole. We have all the things. Also, like eggs, pancakes. You pick your poison.
The usual, but we also have the good stuff.
Yes.
So don't forget, tickets are right now on sale. We have our tickets set to $50 right now. So before they run out, right? They're selling. So don't wait until last minute to celebrate your mom. This is a perfect time to not only celebrate your moms, but also immigrant moms and every single person that the organization has helped through the past years. Because besides being a celebration for moms, once again, it's also a fundraisers to keep services and programs like refugee services going. So we wish we can count with your support when it comes to this Madres, Mariachis y Margaritas event.
Because you'll get there, you'll get your food, you'll sit down, and then the music begins.
Absolutely.
It's like a wedding reception, like you're at a reception.
So now just picture this. You wake up on Saturday, May 10th, 8 in the morning. You don't have to cook. You don't have to shower, change.
Yeah.
Take your mom, drive like 10, 15 minutes. And there you go. That's it.
Everything's done for you. And we're going to have a setup for you can take professional photos. We'll have a backdrop. You'll have those done. We can send you the digital copies so you can print them, frame them, so that you'll have that. Yeah.
Exactly. You can have a long-lasting memory of your mom in a photo as well. So take advantage before we run out of tickets, and don't forget to buy them. We're going to, of course, link the tickets website in our description. So you guys don't miss it. And again, before we close it out, any remarks, any comments?
Moms are magic. Thank you, Mom and Grandma.
Thank
Grandmas.
them.
Yes.
Thank them, acknowledge them, give them a break, treat them to something nice, even if it's like 20 minutes of solitude. Just
Yes, absolutely. It goes a long way, of course. Don't forget to tell your mom, I love you, Mom. Don't forget to say thank you, and don't forget to take it to our brunch.
Oh my God, you a kid.
Yes. All right. So I guess we can go ahead and close it out. And thank you guys for tuning in with this episode of Amor Al Migrante podcast. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.